It's Viren. Okay, so there's a video I uploaded earlier having to do with the abuser and enabler types, but I edited it so much that there was almost everything of value taken out of it. And it was also cut short. I got ahead of myself in there, and I realized I had to edit it. So, yeah, I'm uploading this one, so that way there's actually the things of value are in there again. Somebody over Facebook messaged me, I'm reading his message now, said, "Can you tell me more about enablers and abusers?" So that's what I'm doing now. There are three types of enablers I either currently or once had in my life, so I'll describe them in scenario form. If you don't like how I do this, then just let me know in the comments and I will think of something else. Inactive. An inactive enabler. Say a kid is bullying somebody else. An inactive enabler doesn't acknowledge the situation at all, even if it's right in front of them, even if it's happening to them, actually. It takes two to tango, or so the saying goes, so they don't involve themselves. If the kid that's being bullied is theirs, then they do not offer consolation. If the kid decides that this person is consoling them simply by not being a dick as well, then they are not discouraged from it. However, if the aggressor asks them or pays attention, then it is easily seen that this enabler did not in fact help or take sides. They just sat or stood there and did nothing. An example, man, examples just abound for this one. Say for example, you're at a store and you see a little kid get smacked in the face by their parent, or screamed at in such a way where it's not, just parenting, but being an asshole. Okay. If you don't do anything at all, you are an inactive enabler. Even if this little kid is, tries to get away from their parent and, runs next to, you, hiding next to, just because you're a person nearby, and tries to hide, near you, or so that being chased, the abuser would, rush past or into you. If you don't do anything at all, you are enabling the abuser to continue hurting people. That's inactive enabler. You have to, actually do something. Praying is the same thing as being a bad guy, because looking at prayer objectively, you're saying, I hope somebody else, but not me, helps this person in need, but I'm not going to. Go ahead and get mad at me for that, but I really don't care about the point of perception of people on the sidelines, at that point. What's more important is how the victim is perceiving other people around in the area. And I'm well aware of exactly how that feels. Enabler 2. Actively passive. Not passive-aggressive, they're totally different. Say someone realizes that someone else has money, but they're asleep, sitting down, or some other way of having their wallet or money in their back pocket, and it is inaccessible. The aggressor might attack the person, demanding that they hand over their money. The aggressively passive person will be sure to have their money easily taken from then on. If someone else sees this behavior and points out that brutalizing a family member, as an example, or somebody else for money is not okay, then this activates the seemingly passive person's actively aggressive behavior. They will raise their voice to the point of nearly screaming, almost allowing their anger to explode out of them physically, defending the actions of the person who attacked them, and going to war against your idea of defending someone who is being wronged. An example I'll give you. Somebody was in their bedroom. They had their money in their back pocket. Somebody else came into their room and wanted money. The aggressively passive person, whatever their response wasn't to the other person's liking, so they forcibly rolled the person over, like angrily doing so, almost leaving a bruise, or maybe it did, I don't know. The next time and every time after that person came over, the aggressively passive person actually from that point on kept their wallet in clear view, so they wouldn't have to be attacked for their wallet or even ask for it anymore. Just the money could be taken at any time. I pointed out that kind of behavior, hurting somebody for money, especially in their own bedroom, is just plain wrong, and something about that should probably be done, or at least defend yourself. And that person got extremely angry at me and defended the person hurting them and told me to mind my own business. The 3 types of abusers. You know what, I'm going to read fearful abuser last. Physical abuser. This is sadly the only kind of abuser that seems to get arrested. Physical abusers are not as complex as the emotional abuser, though they use the same primary thought. They are right, and anyone who disagrees needs to be informed that they are wrong, even if they aren't, because how dare they talk back. Physical abusers beat their mates and children, often willing to be or already is a rapist. For those who do not look like being attacked will force them to become subservient or someone in public with witnesses, but who question this abuser's abuse of someone by often yelling, facial or body intimidation, clenching fists, etc. Then this abuser will use their abuse in a place they know they can, on one of their victims, possibly their children, when no one is around to protect them. An example, well, I mean, I've been beaten in the head with rocks, but I wouldn't use that as a good example, really. Okay, right, physical abuser. Right, whatever this abuser used to punch and kick me whenever they felt like it, whether they were angry at me or someone else, or whenever a new guest would be in the area, then the physical abuser would assault me in that new person's, easy line of sight, so they could see it happening. So the physical abuser could establish dominance, showing that, that is, somebody to be afraid of, and just stay the heck away from that person. And if they're being, violent, then if you know what's good for you, then, let them hurt whoever they're hurting, type deal. Other physical abusers I've seen didn't act that way, but did other things breaking bones, leaving bruises or welts, burn marks on purpose, things like that. Yeah. Unfortunately, some physical abusers are actually smart, which just sucks, really sucks. Um, and they're able to pass the blame in case somebody does do something to someone else. I remember back when I was 14, maybe around there. I can't remember exactly. A friend and I, well, two of my friends actually, well, my friend and a friend of his, were over at the friend of a friend's house throwing poppets on the ground. We were from the balcony. We were watching below to make sure there was nobody down there. Even though they're not actually dangerous, you can pop them in your own fingers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't leave a mark. It's fine. And that night, a police officer came to my door and said that me and a friend. Oh no, I guess I was 16. No, 14, maybe 15. Anyway, and they said that I had burned some guy's kid, and I'm like, what are you even talking about? And they said that I used, poppers throwing off the balcony, and they burned his kid. But we were looking, and there was nobody there, so that's not true. Yeah, so they got my friend as well, and we went over to that guy's house, the friend of a friend's house, and one of the neighbors had his kid. It was a warm night, and the kid was in some stroller thing that had a plastic roof on it that looked kind of like a car, and was wearing mittens and a knit cap. I remember this. The cop pointed at the little kid, showing little burn marks all over him, saying that it was me that did that with the poppers, or poppets, whatever you want to call it. But like I said, we were watching. There was nobody there. It looked to me like cigarette burns. And the cop said that I had to agree that it was possible, and then that way, because I agreed, he would just put me on probation, verbal probation, and this is the first time I've thought about this situation in a very long time. Anyway, that I was going to be put on probation because my friends were younger than me, and they would get sent to juvenile hall. But if I took the blame for all three of us, then I would just be on probation. Thinking about it now, it's very obvious what happened. That guy was putting his cigarettes out on his kid, or maybe he was a boyfriend of the mother of the kid, and putting it, so those mittens and gloves and the stroller thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the kid couldn't walk and had bruises or welts on their hands and head, so they had to cover it up. It was too warm to wear clothes like that. And there was no paperwork ever done by the cop, so it was obvious that the cop was, that guy's buddy or something, to me. So, that physical abuser was abusing the kid and making sure that the law was on his side for doing it, and he couldn't get in trouble. So, yeah, when a physical abuser is smart, you're just kind of extremely screwed. I don't see there being anything you can possibly do at all about it, really. Type 2, emotional abuser. Emotional abusers do not use physical violence, or if they do, it's far more rare than emotional abuse, which is constant. They do not have any remorse whatsoever, even if it leads to death. If a pet dies due to their negligence, as an example, then this abuser might decide to guilt the person who is the most hurt by the animal's loss, becoming increasingly angry over the required disposal of it, etc. The age of the victim, as with the other two abusers, does not matter. If one of the emotional abuser's victims ever gets over their lifetime of abuse and trained self-depreciation, or even asks a question in regards to it, then the emotional abuser changes from their primary mode, being bully everyone, frighten everyone to the point they're unwilling to speak or disobey, to their secondary form of abuse, which is to declare themselves a victim, and that the actual victim is the one victimizing them. This crocodile-tiered guilt trip is surprisingly effective, even if the victims know full well that this person is the one in the wrong. If the emotional abuser realizes that the fake crying and faux guilt is not working, then they will switch over to their third form, convincing the other person through rationality that their opinion is correct. We need to watch our money, as an example. And if that fails due to incorrect logic, you rationalizing, but if we need to watch our money, then why are we going to a $50 a plate dinner? Then they instead become angry again and declare authority. I am the one driving, it is my house, etc. So, they still get what they want. It's disgusting to me, but this kind of person almost always gets what they want. The only time I've ever seen it not work is when a victim does not live with the person, nor do they have anything tying them together at all. No business, no phone contracts, nothing. That has to do with family members. Like, say, if you're in a family with a emotional abuser, and you get away, and then you find out that, now that you're not in the situation, now they've switched to somebody else and they're abusing that person instead, you might feel compassion for that person and go, you know what, I know how to deal with it, I'll put myself in that situation instead of this other person because I can handle it better, I'm used to it. That can't work either. I mean, they're going to have to be able to, take care of themselves. It's extremely difficult. Almost nobody can. Statistically speaking, but oh well, you gotta look out for you. Do what you can to help. Yeah. Not helping would be one of the enabler types that I described. Anyway, if this abuser does not have someone to abuse, they appear to be peaceful, friendly, generous, and kind. Things will be different, they say. Move back in, yeah, things will be different. As soon as you move back in, the abuse starts all over again. Without even wasting 10 seconds, no, that is not an exaggeration. And how will things be different? It will be worse now. Because, now you have one less trump card to use. One less person willing to help you to get you out of the house because they already did that. And you already, left that situation, went back to the bad situation. So why would they bother helping you? And the emotional abuser realizes they have that much more power over you than they did before. There's no reason to hold themselves back. Some emotional abusers, I've got so many examples on this. Say, for example, somebody threatens your life. You're afraid, you tell somebody. One of your family, say one of your parents is the emotional abuser. They might say, if you get killed, it doesn't, don't worry about it because I have enough life insurance on you to pay for your funeral, so it won't be a financial burden on me. Yeah. thank you very much, you unholy cantankerous asshole. You can't be more of a dick, can you? No, I don't think you can. Not if you tried. Or, just insult you and tell you that you're useless and worthless, and you can't do anything on your own, and you're a complete waste of life, and things like that. And it doesn't sound anywhere near as bad as the other abuser, but it does build up over time, especially if the only people in your family are abusers and enablers. Then all you're going to see in life is if somebody is a murderer, if they're a psychopath that just brutalizes people whenever they want and never gets in trouble for it. You have a pretty dim view of the world. That evil is the only thing that even exists, and that good is just a fairy tale. If these are the only types of people you ever encounter. The last abuser, being the third one, fearful abuser. This kind of abuser is generally a nice person on their own, though they often call themselves bitches and assholes, and in reality that is what they are. They can be strong-willed, generous, and very loving, unless it is in the perception range of another abuser type. If the fearful abuser thinks that another abuser type might find out that they are taking the victim's side, then they will instead brutalize the victim themselves, knowing that the other abuser will not hold it against them, but will hold it against the victim for bringing up a subject or situation that the abuser doesn't like. The fearful abuser I am aware of will add physical attacks to their abuse if the other abuser is emotional. Why, I don't know. But I don't see it as actually mattering. But yeah, it's because, like I said, fearful abuser. They're afraid of the abuser just as much as the victim is, but they'll become an abuser even worse than the other abuser was, or is, because they don't want the abuse to come at them. And they don't want the victim to come to them for help, because then the original abuser might find out and come at them. So, yeah. Is there anything you can actually genuinely do to be able to make sure that abusers don't always get their way? If there is, I haven't personally found it. Yeah, if you have any ideas on that, go ahead and let me know. Yeah. Anyway, until next time.